Okay, we're going to finish up tonight with 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And we've been talking about the word apostasia, how it's been inaccurately translated in our King James Bible as falling away. And really it should have been translated as departure. I mentioned in our previous video that the first 7 English translations of the scriptures before the King James 1611 all translated this word apostasia as departure and not falling away. And that makes all the difference in the world when you read these particular verses here in 2 Thessalonians as to understanding the timing of the rapture and when it will take place. To me, this is positive proof. This right here, if you get this correctly, you understand this one or 2 or 3 verses here prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the rapture has to take place before the tribulation period. This is a pre-tribulation revelation here, if you properly understand that the word should have been translated as departure. And like I said, the first 7 English translations of the Bible translated this word that way. Why the King James departed from that, we don't know. But they did, and because of that, people have had this understanding that there's going to be a great, massive falling away of the believers before the rapture would take place. And that's not correct here in that. In these verses here, it's talking about there will be a departure first. Now I want to go back here and read this verse again. Verse 3 of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, Paul says, "Let no man deceive you." Don't let anybody deceive you. These people who try to tell you that the church is going through the tribulation and all this, don't let them deceive you. Properly seek this out. Don't just take my word for it. Do your study yourself. Most people who, as I've shared with you in the past, most people who confuse the timing of the rapture do so because for a number of reasons, but one of the main ones is they do get the church mixed up with Israel. They don't see a distinct difference between them. And so there's a lot of other reasons too people get confused about the timing of the rapture. But one reason is not understanding these verses right here that we've already talked about. But when you understand here that when Paul says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day," now here's the real key. You have to understand what that day is that he's talking about. See, most people interpret that day as the rapture. But he's talking about the day of Yahuwah, or the day of the Lord, which we've already talked about is the time frame of Daniel's 70th week, or the tribulation period. Now I'm convinced of this because excuse me, it doesn't make sense if you think that he's talking about the rapture when he says that day. Now when I teach this, I have to explain a little bit of the sequence here as far as what I'm talking about. The rapture has to precede the day of Yahuwah because of what he's revealing here. But it also, at the same time the rapture takes place, the tribulation will begin. Now, I'm convinced of that. Now, there's no scripture that says that per se, but the Messiah, Yahushua, made reference to this when he compared his coming to the same as the days of Noah and Lot. And if you read those passages, you understand that judgment fell immediately after Noah entered the ark, and after Lot was taken away, judgment fell. So when we're taken away, judgment is going to fall. If we follow what the Messiah was comparing, he said that it would be the same as these 2 different scenarios. And we know that the tribulation period is a time of judgment. And so when you understand that, then when he says that day, you understand that day is not talking about the rapture. Because here's the problem. If you think when he says that day specifically is talking about the rapture, then you interpret there's got to come a departure first. See, the departure first has to happen before the tribulation or the day of Yahuwah can begin. That's what's being said here. Not that the rapture before the rapture happens, there's going to be a departure first. the departure is the rapture. So I hope you understand what I'm saying here. And then he says that the man of sin be revealed. We know that, of course, this is talking about the Antichrist. Now, the Antichrist doesn't have to be revealed before the departure takes place, but before the day of Yahuwah can begin, or the day of the Lord, the rapture has to take place first, and then the man of sin can be revealed. I hope this is helping clear up some things. This is really, to me, if you get this basic understanding of what this word apostasia means, that it really means departure and not falling away, then you can understand here that Paul is communicating to us a pre-trib rapture that was going to take place before the tribulation or the day of Yahuwah begins. Thank you for your time this evening, and we'll pick this up on our next session together. And until then, shalom.